If you're looking at the schedule, obviously I am not Ryan White. But as my wife has been putting it, you're getting the better looking version, okay? So, not my joke, hers. So, give me just a second. I'm gonna get my timer started here. Well, first of all, thank you all so much for having us out here today. Want to thank Layman and Nathan and Matt and just the whole family here. It's an honor, it really is, to be here. So just wanted to say thank all of you for letting us come and interrupt your Saturday for just a little bit. We're going to play a little game this morning, and that is involving me because I'm learning how to be a better speaker, okay? I'm trying to slow down, but in doing that, I do say a lot, and I say a lot, okay? So just to play a little game with me, do me a favor and just count for me how many times I say it. Okay, and so when we get to the end of this, somebody can let me know how terrible I did, and I'll learn from it. So there you go. There's one. So 2. See, told you so. Please don't. Please don't. Goodness gracious. All right. Almost did it again. We all have our heroes in the faith. Just want to take a second and ask all of you, when you think about your heroes in the faith, who do you think of? Just name some people. Throw some out for me. Esther. Ruth. A lot of people would go with David, I know. So a lot of people would say David. A lot of people would go, well, obviously with Jesus, Paul, Peter. That's my man right there. Peter's my guy. Peter, I love Peter. I'm sorry. I know I'm supposed to stay here. I've been put in a box, and I am very much a walk-around guy. So Peter is my guy because this is the guy that he screws everything up. Me, right? So this is the guy who he never gets it right, but somehow he always finds grace. Okay, he denies Yeshua 3 times, 3 times our Messiah forgives him and loves him and shows him that love. And it's just so many things about Peter that I could just go on and on and on about. But today, let's go back to the Old Testament we're going to look at the life of Hannah today. Now, before we get to Hannah, we're going to look at some other people. David, first of all. Now, we know David was this great king. He was a shepherd boy. He was called. He wasn't the biggest. He wasn't the oldest in his family, but yet he was called. And then he went forth with his resume in front of Saul and said, I've done this. I've not slain giants yet. I've shut the mouth of lions. I've killed them. I've manhandled bears. I've done all of these things. I'm the man, right? And so, okay, let me put my best armor on you. It doesn't fit. Nope, I just need a sling and some stones, and I'm going to kill this guy. So, and he goes and he does this amazing feat. He does all of these amazing things. Now, we also know David had a lot of faults. David, I wouldn't even call them faults. They were a lot worse than faults. So, but we see David do some amazing things. And, we know that Scripture says that, he loved God with all of his heart. Before that, as, David said, we had Saul, who we know he definitely had his shortcomings, and ended up actually losing his life because of all of that, along with his sons. Now, looking past him, we have Samuel. Okay, God called Samuel, and his life was devoted to Samuel. He was, Samuel was the last judge. He was the man that he was the prophet of God. He was the one who told people, this is how it's going to be. He's the one who got David where he's at. He's actually the one who got Saul where he was at. And we look at the life of Samuel, and it's just like, this is insane. Like the stuff that he did was amazing for God. But what I want to do today is actually want to focus on his mom. And so if everybody would do me a favor and turn to the book of Hannah in the Bible. Like, oh wait, that one's not in there, is it? I always tell Eric, I'm like, I think, and I know that the book of Samuel, it's given to, they say Samuel might have written some of that. Nathan and Gad also wrote some of that. It's just what we learn from history. But the book of Samuel starts off in chapter 1 with this amazing story of his mom and how she devoted her life to God. Now, it didn't start out, it starts off real simple, where you have Elkanah, who was her husband, and his other wife that he had at the time, Penini, whatever you want to call her, and then Hannah. Now, Penina, she had her kids already. She had children, by Elkanah. But Hannah didn't have any. Matter of fact, Scripture says that the Lord closed her womb. Now, why did he do that? I don't know. Maybe it was for this time. Maybe it was just because of this. But we see all of this happening with, she comes in. If you know the story or not, we're going to be going there. We're going to read some of it. It's a lot to read, so I'm not going to read all of it. But, sorry, I'm going to put that pen away before it keeps making noise. But in 1 Samuel, we see where Elkanah, every year he goes up to do his sacrifice. He wants to worship the Lord, at the tent of meeting. He's going there because he wants to, represent his family. He gives his wife Penina a blessing and to her children. But to Hannah, he gives a double portion to her. Why does he do that? It says because he loves her. Now, I'm not giving any space at all for the way that Penina treats Hannah, but I can see that there's some hurt there on her side. Why? Because I think it's because he loves Hannah so much that, Penina's looking at this and she starts treating her terribly. She's mocking her, making fun of her. Sorry, I'm looking at some laughing. I'm like, how many am I at now? So, so thank you. So we see Penina, she's making fun of Hannah constantly, like every time we go up. So what's Hannah do? That's got to crush her, right? She's in tears. She's going, before the Lord. And I do want to point this out, that it talks that Elkanah constantly went before the Lord. And then one night, Hannah went before the Lord. Now, I don't see one thing in there that says she asked for permission to go. So she went of her own accord. She went and she decided, I need to get something done here. And it took faith for her to step out. Now, and it says in, this is verse 9. On one occasion, Hannah got up after they ate and drank at Shiloh. The priest Eli was sitting on a chair by the doorpost in the Lord's temple, deeply hurt. Hannah prayed to the Lord and wept with many tears. I'm a dad. I've got a daughter. She's 23 years old now. I've got 2 grandbabies by her, and I've got my 2 sons. And then I've got my step siblings, Erica's kids, that are 17 and 16 right now. But my kids, when they were growing up, my boys would come to me, they would want something, and they'd either get just not a slap, but they would be like, no, you're not getting that. No, that's not happening. My daughter would come to me, yeah, sweetie, anything you want, I'll get it for you, whatever, you're my little baby. So my boys learned at an early age that all they had to do was, instead of them coming to dad to get something, they would just send my daughter, and it would happen. So now, fast forward, when I met Erica, we were both in a place, both of us had gone through divorce, and we started talking, and then we started talking about what does dating look like? What is this aspect? And I told her, and we both agreed, I'm not going to date unless we agree that you are the one I'm going to marry. If that's not the idea going into this, it's not going to happen. And we both agreed on that. And then one day, we were having that conversation, and we agreed, okay, we're going to stop talking to each other for just a little bit. We need to fast. We need to pray. And I told her, I said, Erica, I need you to do something for me because I know God speaks to you, and I know he listens to you. I want you to pray like women pray. Okay? And I say that because when I grew up in a Pentecostal home. I grew up very charismatic, everything. But it was the women who got God's attention. When I was growing up, it was when women went to pray, that's when the battle happened in the spirit. Okay? And so I looked at her and I said, I need you to pray. I need you to pray like women pray. And she was just like, on it. And it was very shortly after that within just a week or so, that we were like, yeah, let's do this. And, in typical Messianic style, 5 months later, we were married. So, but Hannah cries out, okay? And what happens? Well, first of all, we know that Eli mocks her, sits there and is just like, you are drunk, get out, quit doing that, come back, basically come back when you're sober, and, then we'll talk or whatever. But, she could have just left. She could have done the thing that we talk about, and just been a humble, submissive woman and just walked off and said, okay, I'll come back, but she didn't do that. She stood up, she stood her ground, and she was like, no, I'm going to get my blessing. This is happening today. We are going to this is happening. God is going to do what I'm asking for today. Well, what do you say to that, right? Go your way. It's going to happen. He prophesied it over her. It's going to happen. Okay? So, with that, we see that she goes on. She does her life. She goes about what she's doing, and God blesses her with Samuel. And I want you to see that the thing is that, and we can go into all of those stories, and we can talk about all the little things, but we see a champion inside of Hannah. She wasn't just somebody who rolled over, like a dog. A dog will show you his belly, that he'll do that in submission, and he'll show you that. She didn't do that. She fought back. She stood up. She stood her ground. And I want you to see this because we understand, if you don't know, Hannah is a type, a foreshadowing of Mary. Okay? And if you don't understand what Mary did and what Mary was, okay, she was a champion also. It wasn't by accident that God chose Mary. All right? So, and here's Hannah that God is using, and God is showing her, and God is just reaching out, and God is doing everything in her. Hannah took action. Now, I want to say this because we've got people that go online who sit there and say all of these things like, women don't have a place in ministry, or women can't do this, or women can't do that. But I'm here to tell you that is just not the case. And if you are one of those people, and I'm going online for this one. If you are online and you are sitting there and you're on Facebook and you're making all these big posts and saying all these things, or you're on TikTok or Instagram, and you don't even have a home church that you give to, that you lend a hand to, if you're sitting there out there and you can't listen to a woman teach long enough that you have to get up and walk out, okay? Women have been called from the Lord since the beginning. God has done amazing things through women from the beginning. And Hannah is just one case where she rose up as a champion. She took action. And that is exactly how we need to view the women in this church and in our home churches. Okay? If I'm a pastor and up here and I'm telling you that women can't do it, I shouldn't be here. I shouldn't be here. Because I'll tell you what, I wasn't even supposed to speak this weekend. I honestly was coming to hear my wife teach. And last minute schedule changes. They were like, hey, Brad, I want you to speak. Awesome. I've got 2 days to prepare. This will be amazing. But I came to hear my wife speak. Why? Because every time she speaks, I learn something. And so I'm very good at home of just shutting up and letting her talk. And it's not this whole thing of, well, I'm the head of the house and I'm the da-da-da. No, we are equals. We are very much equals in our home. And when we talk as equals and as people who love the Lord. And I want you to see that. We need to be people like Hannah. And if we're not taking action in what we're doing, if we're not going before the Lord together, okay? If you're not going before the Lord, if you're not taking action, you're not doing what God has called you to do. And I will tell you that God has called you to so many great things. But He's not just called you men, He's called you women too. It's time to rise up out of the shadow of men, women. Okay? You are not supposed to be under a man's shadow. Amen. Okay? It is time to rise up and be heard.